Blog Talk Radio.
Good evening, everyone. This is me, Jonathan Alexander, and I'm here to host our show, Life, Laughter, Happiness. Today, I have my co-host, Kelly. Are you there, Kelly?
Hi. Yes. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hi, Kelly.
And I have my other co-host, Barbara. Are you there, Barbara?
Yes, I'm here. Hi, everybody.
Hi, Barbara.
Now, Barbara, being you know the two guests better than I do, why don't you introduce them?
Okay, well, I guess I do know these guests better than you guys because guess what? I was just on their show, and it was such a blast. And these guys are two of the nicest guys, probably in the business of sports. We have the guys from the Final Countdown Sports Podcast Radio Show, Michael Pierce and Jeremy Long. First, I want to introduce Jeremy Long. He is an award-winning TV radio host, digital creator, and writer. He hosts a number of sports programs, including Cage Siders, The Final Countdown, The Sports Vagabonds, and Levels. And Michael Price, a.k.a. MP, is a producer, creator, and co-host of Sports Talk Radio, On Pit Radio Racing, Pigskin Picks, The Final Countdown, and The Sports Vagabonds. He also works as a sports marketing specialist for the Las Vegas Sports Network stations ESPN, Fox Sports, Sports 920, The Game, and ESPN Deportes. And Kelly's going to love this. One of his favorite teams is the University of Michigan. Welcome, Michael and Jeremy. Woo!
Yeah.
Hey, man, well, thank you for having us on the show, man. After all those accolades, I feel like, my God, I've had a decent life. What the hell happened right now? I mean, but thanks for having us.
You are welcome, but sometimes when somebody reads about you, you know who you are, but it just sounds different in a different perspective, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's when we look back at the stuff we've done and we've done recently and everything, it's when someone else reads it, it's very humbling to say the least.
Yeah, and then you guys can say, "Yeah, wow, I do a lot." Which brings me to my first question with all of this, because when I was talking to Michael about being on the show, he said you do the Final Countdown, which was the show that I guested on with you guys, and he said that you do that just every Thursday. So I thought, well, what else do these people do? Well, hello, a lot. So I was going to ask you, how many games or sports events do you have to watch per week to keep up on all of this to feel like, okay, I got to hold on it?
Well, you know what? I think that the way that I approach it is that I just love sports. When you love sports, you just watch everything. And the thing that I don't consider myself as an expert on anything, so I just am passionate about watching sports. So last night I was turning from the Vegas Golden Knights to the NBA, and then from there, God, I was watching something else. But it just becomes fun, So I'm watching hockey, I'm watching basketball. Oh, how can I forget Thursday night football? And then I was turning to the Thursday night football game.
Can I interject? I wanted to make a point about basketball, but not knowing about something. And this is going to sound so stupid to people who are fans of basketball because I could never tell the difference. I used to watch basketball players, and then I would watch Michael Jordan play basketball, and I would think to myself, but I don't understand. I mean, what is it about this that makes him so good? I don't understand. And I think that it was that you sort of have to watch basketball to sort of understand and actually know the rules of basketball, of course, to understand the difference between Michael Jordan and another basketball player. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, but with Michael Jordan, I'm going to let you know what the secret was. Are you ready?
Yeah.
It was the shoes.
Of course.
I don't know. That was a campaign. That was a campaign that he had with Spike Lee for so many years. And that's what it must be, the shoes. It has to be the shoes. No, it's you know what, the rules in everything changes, and they change because you're right. The athletes become more athletic. They study the game more, so you have to challenge them a little bit more. But you don't want to challenge them enough where the rules are changing. So they're moving back to 3-point line. They shorten the clock, from 30 seconds now it's down to 24 seconds, the shot clock. And but they're not going to raise the rim yet. I think they're not to that point yet. But no, it just really comes down to these guys are just really great athletes, and you look at it and you just go, my God, how can this guy do this pirouette? How can LeBron James have a triple-double at 33 years old? But it's because they're dedicated to it.
Well, you know what is
when
so cool?
Sorry.
I'm sorry, Johnny. Go ahead. You go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry, but like one sport I do know about is boxing. Is that when you watch George Foreman, you think 45 years old, and he would and that was impressive to me, and it's impressive to me because I know how harder it must be for somebody at 40-something to do that. So that's all I'm going to say about that. But go with what you're saying, Barbara.
No, that's wonderful, Johnny, but that's a good point. And that's so wonderful that they can. And there is no age limit on professional sports or any other sports. Other sports, yes, but professional sports, wait, maybe there is. Is there an age limit to where they say you have to stop?
The age limit is constantly being redefined in most sports. 15 years ago, it was unthinkable for NFL quarterbacks to play until they're 40 years old. But now you see Tom Brady and Drew Brees and these guys, they're 40 years old, and not only are they just playing, they're excelling. They're winning Super Bowls. So they're rewriting the script in front of us about what it means to be an older quarterback in the NFL. And Johnny brought up a great point in George Foreman. George Foreman was, in his 40s when he recaptured that heavyweight title. Well, he had what we call that grown man strength. You know what I'm saying? He always was a heavy-handed hitter, but, that transcends age. I mean, the guy was stronger than a bull even in his 40s into his 50s. And you can even look at guys like Herschel Walker who, redefine what it is to be fit in your 50s and your 60s and, doing things like that. And the triathletes and everyone who are just continuously pushing their bodies later and later in life and just kind of redefining sports altogether.
I was going to say something, like another example of that is I have I'm email pen pals with George Foreman. I'm actually email pen pals with him. And one of the things that I read about in his biography that is interesting is that when he wanted to get a license, he applied for the state that was going to give him the hardest physical, because he knew that once he applied for that and he got a license from that state, then the rest of the states would be just a technicality. So he went into California. But when he went in to get the license in California, they basically said to him this. They said, which was, by the way, was in the movie The Rocky Balboa. Same thing that happened to Rocky Balboa. They said, well, you passed your test. You passed the requirements, but we're not going to give you a license. And which is kind of silly when you really think about it. You give him this test, he passes it, then you're not going to give him the thing that you were going to give him once he passed the test. It didn't make any sense. So he had to literally get lawyers. He called in these lawyers but that's why I think it's been redefined. I think it's just sort of redefined into what it is to be old or elderly. Does anybody have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, honestly, I mean, when you look at that in commissions, their job sometimes and most times is to protect athletes from themselves. especially when you look at boxing and mixed martial arts and these kind of combat sports where you take a lot of shots to the head. All of these guys and even girls now who do these sports, they're warriors, man. They want to be out there. They want to be in the ring. They want to be in the cage. And, they're tough and they have that warrior spirit. But sometimes you have to protect them from themselves and say, you know what, we know that your spirit's right. We know that you're physically fit, but the brain can only take so many shots. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes those commissions, even though they mean well, and even if it short sights some of the fans wanting, these things to happen, a lot of times, while we still are defining and redefining what the human body is capable of, a lot of times it's for their own good.
I have a question that's kind of along those lines. How much harder typically does somebody in their 40s have to work to be on the same level as somebody who's in their early 20s?
So, we look at something, the athletes, in fact, they shared social media last week, Tom Brady and LeBron James. Those two athletes, they're defining what someone their age is supposed to do at this stage or at this level of their game. Tom Brady is 41 or 40. If I'm, I apologize for not knowing the age. And LeBron James is going on 30, 33, going on 34. And these guys aren't supposed to be able to do what they do. But guess what? They've been taking care of their bodies. Now, are they competing at the same level as a 21-year-old? Yes, they are. But, they're doing it with savvy. They're doing it because they know the game. They're taking these shortcuts that we don't see because they know how they can do that. But in the same breath, they're working out. They're eating correctly, and that was something athletes didn't do back in the day. You look at some of the old school football players, and, the guys were just chubby. And then after the fact, they were athletes to the sense, but they didn't take care of their bodies. And even some athletes today, they go in the game and all they do is just they rely on their athletic ability. But the one thing that happens is that can only get you so far with today's athletes, because these guys want to be into, to paraphrase Jeremy, they want to be warriors. They want to go to the heap of the mound. You have someone like Kawhi Leonard, who now, he just went and won a championship with the Raptors last season after winning a championship with the San Antonio Spurs. He's taking care of his body. He may be redefining what athletes do as far as taking games off, because they understand that they have to preserve their bodies, and to use a word, their bodies are their temple. So, these guys are taking care of it. And you have some of these young guys who come in, and not to call, to talk down on them, but they're ignorant into the sense because they don't catch on early enough, and at this day and age, if I'm going to think I'm going to be a world-class athlete, McDonald's isn't in my menu plan.
Yeah.
Okay. I have a question for each of you. Okay, and I want you to defend your answers. Who would you say is the greatest baseball player of all time, the greatest basketball player of all time, and the greatest football player of all time? And defend your answers. This question is to each of you.
Oh, hold on. Before we get into that, I want to say something on this subject. I accidentally had it on mute, and
Sorry.
I was talking, and I'm like, oh, nobody can hear me. So I want to talk about the body and preserving it. These quarterbacks, they're being very careful these days in the NFL about protecting the quarterbacks and the rules and regulations to make sure that, is that why maybe their longevity is more long, because they're protecting their quarterbacks better these days?
Yeah, absolutely. It's actually kind of a multitude of reasons. They're protecting the quarterback more. You're not able to just fly into the quarterback and hit him just like you are any other player, because you have to understand, these owners, the quarterback is the most valuable position, and so they're giving these guys $100 million contracts, and so they want to protect their investments, and so the rules are built around protecting those investments and everything. But also, the science is caught up. Nutrition is caught up to where these athletes, are staying fit year round. They're resting their bodies properly. They're taking care of themselves not only physically but mentally and emotionally. They're now it's 10 years ago it was unheard of to have a team therapist or a team psychologist or anything like that. But now every single team has a team therapist and a team psychologist. And these grown men, you would think, these professional athletes, these gods among little boys, they go in there and they tell the doctor their deepest fears and what's going on with them and everything. So it's kind of it's a 360 approach. They're taking care of their mind, body, and soul more and more and more in professional levels. Just because if you mentally break down, you can't play the game well. So it makes sense, but the science is finally catching up to the games, and it's not as archaic as it once was.
That's wonderful, and the science is coming up to what Michael was saying with, or was it Jeremy, with the NBA, where they're evolving. They're getting so super good, like magic, that they have to make the rules tougher, right? Because it's becoming it's so easy, it seems like, watching these guys. So they're changing the rules a little
absolutely.
bit because it's evolving.
They're evolving the game to fit the players. They're contemplating different things, expanding seasons, condensing seasons, moving 3-point lines further back, or they're playing with shot clock rules and different things like that, just to, just like athletes evolve, you have to continuously evolve your game. And I know it's hard to believe that, a couple of decades ago, the 3-point line didn't even exist, right? So just like we're dealing with stuff now, the games keep changing as athletes get better and better and hyper-focused on, what they do and what they have success with.
Do you think that the players in their mind think more about breaking records more than, I'm sure winning is so important, but breaking their records is now so very important, and they're doing this almost every game?
Yeah, for a lot of players, it depends on your background, and it depends on how you looked at the game and viewed the game when you were young. Were you that kid that always thought about, bottom of the ninth in the seventh game of the World Series and bases are loaded and I get to hit a home run to win the game? Or were you that kid who just was out there practicing 1,000 free throws because you just wanted to be fundamentally sound and play the game, at a different level? And so it's really just, you see guys that chase rings and you see guys that chase money, and not that there's anything wrong with either one of those things. It just depends on your mindset and what you came from, your socioeconomic background and things like that. So really, it's a little bit of both.
Wow, that's so interesting. Well, I want Johnny to ask his question.
Okay. So, who, in your opinion, is the greatest basketball player of all time, the greatest baseball player of all time, the greatest football player of all time? This is a question for each of you, and defend your answers.
Ooh, Johnny, man, you threw that one out there. That's Well, because there's so many different things to look at when you say that, and I'm not trying to stay on the fence, because I do have a favorite of all time, and I'm sure Jeremy and I are going to agree on some of one or two of the picks. But from baseball, I'll start there. To me, the greatest baseball player of all time, and it doesn't even come down to wins. Man, baseball player all time. That's a hard one. I thought I was going to go with Barry Bonds, but then I thought of the steroids. It's like he used steroids, but he was just so great. And then I didn't see Babe Ruth play, and I know he was a great guy. You know what? I'll stick with Barry Bonds. Fundamentally, he was probably one of the soundest, greatest players ever. It just sucks that he got caught into the steroid era, because before he had steroids, he was still a great player. When he was playing for the Pittsburgh Pirates, he was the man. And then once he went and tried to, extend his career, then the steroids and his head got all big and stuff, and he got all muscular at the ripe young age of 40. Like, oh, you got stronger at 40. That happens to every man. But
a lot of them did, but they didn't get caught. A lot of them.
Yeah,
did,
well,
you know what?
It isn't. As far as a man, I'm okay, dude. Keep your youth going. Keep your virility out there. But for baseball, and then for basketball, oh, you put me there. Greatest basketball player, Michael Jordan. I saw him play. LeBron's pushing the needle right now with what he's doing this year to me. But Michael, he had the attitude that I like. He had that chip on his shoulder that all great athletes have. I actually have all athletes, and so he's the man right there. From a football perspective,
I like the ones that play baseball and football. I love those guys.
That was two of them. What the hell you mean? It was just two of them, Barbara.
I know.
You like two guys. You like Bo Jackson and you like Deion Sanders. That was all. There were only two, Barbara. It was only two.
I like that.
But it's okay.
Okay,
but it's okay.
Well, that's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it really is. And in football, the greatest player ever. And can I have a 1A and a 1? Because 1A would be Barry Sanders, and I think that goes back to my Detroit roots. And Barry just played it the right way. He handed the ball to the referee after every touchdown. And to answer, kind of going back to that question you asked Jeremy a while ago about the reasons athletes played, Barry knew that he could have broken the touchdown records, the yardage records as far as running backs is concerned. But he still retired because that wasn't a thing to him. He quit because he was done. Whereas where Emmitt Smith, that's right, Dallas Cowboys fan, Emmitt Smith, his whole goal was to break the record, and he still attained all those other great things that he did. And then you just got to give that guy, Tom Brady, Jesus Christ. Oh, wait, I think he is the son of Jesus Christ. Tom Brady. He's just remarkable. And then, and he graduated from the University of Michigan. Whoa.
Wow.
Whoa. You see what just happened there?
Plus, he looks good, too.
Okay.
I mean, he's a full package.
What was your choice?
Jeremy?
What was your decision? Jeremy, we haven't given your choice yet.
Oh, let's see, man. I do agree with Mike as far as basketball is concerned. I say Michael Jordan, the greatest of all time. And I think it's not even close. Kobe and LeBron, sorry about your luck. Maybe in another life. Football, I'm going to say, I used to think it was someone else, but at this point in time, I mean, with what he's done, being successful at such a high level for nearly 20 damn years, I got to go with Tom Brady. I mean, he's 8 pounds, 6 ounces of baby Jesus just walking amongst men here. So, I mean, he's still winning championships at 40-something years old, and he's not done. I firmly believe he's got at least one more in him. But as far as baseball, I got to go with Babe Ruth. Babe Ruth was one of those guys. I mean, he captured the national attention, as far as baseball and things. So there's my picks.
Okay. I tell you what, it seems that Barbara has opinions on this. So I want her take. I want her answer to that too. And Kelly, if you want, answer if you want.
Okay,
Kelly.
thank you. Yeah, not me first. Go Barbara. Go Barbara. Yeah.
Go Barbara. Go Barbara. Oh, that's funny. Okay, so you know what? Here is my hopeful for the future, which I hope that he's going to be the MVP this year. Russell Wilson. I love him. There's a tear of silence on the line.
It's laughter, but it's okay. It's okay. It's appreciated.
No, but of all time, I don't know, and it doesn't matter if I know.
Yeah.
That's why we've got the experts on the show, Johnny.
Okay.
Yeah, there you
fine.
go.
That's fine.
Yep.
Yeah,
I
good
just wanted to
answer.
go out there. I wanted to answer. I mean,
You just like to give everybody a chance.
Yeah, that's what's cool.
Now, here's my
But
question
I
to
do
you
hope
guys:
that he does that.
Are you avid sports fans yourselves? Or do you have favorite teams? And Do you attend games, or are you just armchair quarterbacks?
For
Well,
me,
I'll tell you what. Go ahead, Kelly. Go ahead. I was going to talk
for
about
me,
Johnny for a minute.
yeah, for me it was more like I used to follow boxing a lot and horse racing, and then it was hockey, and that it was when I was younger, and then like the all-time favorite thing was the 1985 Super Bowl. And I mean, Refrigerator Perry doing the Super Bowl shuffle. I mean, what could possibly be better than that? I mean, seriously. I mean, that just sticks in your mind. I mean, there's like nothing that what can possibly be, beat that. That just like stuck in there. And
And they came out with an awesome music video too. Those 85
I
Bears.
remember. Yes.
Now,
I remember
the
that.
bullets were flowing freely.
I wanted to say something. I'm not a sports fan. I don't. Actually, to be honest with you, I don't even know the rules of basketball, baseball, and football. But I will tell you this. This is an interesting fact about Super Bowl that a lot of people don't know. Did you know that so many people use the bathroom during the Super Bowl that if you go into the bathroom during the commercials, the water is lower because so many people are using it?
So you're like Cliff Clavin. Is that what's happening right now, Johnny?
Yes.
He's like Cliff Clavin from Cheers.
So the next time there's a Super Bowl, make sure you tell everybody that fact. Okay?
Wow.
I'm going to share that one tonight on our show. We're getting ready to do our show. We moved it to this evening, so I'm actually going to go on the air and share that with our listeners.
Oh,
Hey.
you guys moved it because you're on our show? Did you move your time because you're on our show?
Because you know what? I'm never going to lie to you, Barbara Moore. No, that is not what happened. It was. We can't start a relationship off on a bad note there.
Oh, thank you. That's so funny. They're going to talk about Johnny's statistics. That is. Oh, you know what, you guys? Johnny's so cute. He's like, I don't really like football because I don't know the rules. And will you teach me the rules? And I said, yes, but there are books out there for that. And I think it's like, how they have those books called, no offense, but they're named like Dummies for Football, books like that. What do you recommend for somebody?
You know what I recommend? And I'm going to give this one. Johnny, do you drink?
No.
Oh, dude, you're making this rough, bro. Okay. All right, so I'm going to ask this one the most PC I can. Are you a holistic man?
I can be, yes.
No, I mean, do you smoke? I just always was asking. I don't know. I was just
No.
Okay. So this is what you need to do, man. You just need to go to a game. There's nothing like live sports. Once you go there, you sit someone you don't want to go with someone who's too passionate about the team, because if you start asking questions then they might backhand you. But you want to go with someone who's going to sit there and, when you ask a question, they'll go like, oh, yeah, this is what this is. Hey, that's what this is. But, that energy is going to get in you, that rumble. I suggest you go to a college football game first, because there's nothing more passionate than a college football game, especially from one of the Big Five, the Big Ten, the Big 12, the SEC. You go there, man, brother, there's nothing better than that experience, and you will learn to appreciate football.
Yeah.
I'll tell you something else. This is a college basketball story that I have for you. I became good friends with everybody on both of at college with both of the female and male basketball team, and I didn't know that there was a difference between males playing basketball and females playing basketball. So I thought that it would be a good game to have them play each other. Well, the women were like, for goodness sakes, the men are going to destroy us. So I came up with a couple of scenarios that would make the game a little more interesting. I said, one, every time that the girls score a basket, it would be 2 points, and then every time the boys score a basket, that would be only 1 point. The men were saying this is ridiculous. I mean, we'll kill them, it won't matter. And then I said, okay, well, how about we do this? have all the girls be on the court at the same time. That way, the men will feel like they're overwhelmed. No, won't matter. It'll be a landslide. So finally, out of sheer frustration, I said, okay, let me ask you this. On the boys' team, who has the highest point scoring average? And they gave me the name of this kid. And I said, okay, throughout the entire game, our mascot was the eagle. He has to play wearing the mascot costume. And our mascot costume was 40 pounds.
Wow.
So this kid would have to run around the court in it. And they said that would definitely make the game a little more interesting, but they never pulled through with the idea. But I just think it would be interesting to watch. Don't you think, Kelly?
I like it a lot. I like this premise. Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah, I could get down with that. All right, who's placing bets?
Do you guys like cheerleaders? Are the cheerleaders important? Now that we're talking about mascots, are they important to you? I mean, I don't feel like they get enough attention anymore.
Personally, I could take it or leave it, man. As far as cheerleaders, it's one of those things. I'm not going to cheer too hard to get them removed from games, but at any live game I've ever been to, or boxing match or anything like that with the ring card girls, I never pay attention. It's just kind of one of those things. I guess it was important at one time, but as sports continue to evolve and everything, I'm not saying there's not a place, but I'm not saying I necessarily need it.
What about Michael? Does Michael like the cheerleaders?
I got everything. I push mute. I push microphone. Now, see, me, I'm a college guy, and yes, you need the cheerleaders. They make it fun in college sports. Now, in professional sports, I don't even know why they bring them. I don't even think they travel with them. I think they're just home team fodder, But for college teams, they're an important thing. They get the crowd going. Go, state, go. The whole little four-corner thing. Again, Johnny, that's where you need to start. You need to go where the enthusiasm is, my brother. Yeah.
That's right. You know why? Because that's how I learned the rules of football, is when I was a football cheerleader. That's when I really learned that, and the video game I had.
Hey. Well,
wow, you messed me up with that one, Barbara.
You guys,
that's funny. But you know what? It's interesting about sports, isn't it, Kelly? Because it's like I was watching sports the other day, and I was thinking, you know what? We never stop playing as adults, and what makes us just go for it and just work our bodies to the bitter end to be the best. You guys, this is spiritual, because what I was thinking, it's that adrenaline rush, like when I was competing in dance and ballroom dance, that's what I lived for. It was the main feeling that I just had to have. It didn't kill me. It made me better, that adrenaline rush. And when you get a taste of that, it keeps you going. But then that's for the athletes. What about the fans? Well, then I was thinking it's really the same thing, because you're getting that adrenaline rush watching. And what you were saying, you guys, earlier on, is that they're taking care of their bodies. It's their body's their temple. So it really is. Sports is very spiritual, don't you think?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I believe it. It hits our spirits in kind of a primitive place. Early man, wanting to push himself out of the cave and do something else. That competitiveness is, that's. We're social and competitive creatures by nature. We want to see. The first cave person, whoever it was, who looked up at a tree and was like, "I bet I could climb that tree." I bet I could climb that tree faster than you could climb that tree. Whatever it was, running or swimming or whatever got into our minds. But it is, for people that are sedentary and don't do a whole lot with their lives, that's a 180 from what we are as creatures on this earth. We're made to go and do and push ourselves and figure out solutions to problems. And, that whole adage of reaching for the stars and everything else. Yeah, it's very spiritual for us to get out and compete and be amongst other people who are also competing and pushing themselves.
Yeah,
that's so
it
true.
really is. It's inbred in us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go ahead, Kelly.
That's so true. And the endorphins and the dopamine and all that in our brains, it's like we need that to feel balanced. And we can get that from observing and feeling the rush. And some people do that with video games. Some people do that with, different ways. But it's also, there's something missing when we don't do, support, sports or, just competing against ourselves and what our best time was last week or, how many of these that we could do. Let's push it a little further and do some more. And it is a social thing too. Like you go to the gym, you might see people that you saw there before. You might, go there with your buddy. You might know that the instructor's there. And it's just, it is a good aspect of it. The familiarity of it.
Because you can go into a stadium and not have anything in common with 60,000 people. The only thing that you know is that you all love football, and you all are cheering on. And like you said, the electricity in the air when all these people come together to, cheer or boo or whatever it is, for the home team, for us to stand side by side with other like-minded humans, there's a connection there. And we may not see it on a physical level, but it's there spiritually, and it's there, in our subconscious that we are gathered around, like old days. Go back to the caveman again, gathered around the fire, and we're all together in this thing going, hey, yeah, there's something to this. Let's get moving. Let's get cheering. Let's get something going on, because that's what we are.
Yes.
Yeah.
And especially Americans. Like my dad would always say, America loves a hero.
Yeah.
Somebody to root for, and the underdog, and your favorite team, and all that. But you know what is so sad, which I wanted to touch upon a little bit, is when that all goes very wrong. Like, for example, the fan who got beat up at the Dodgers game, or recently the football player that took off that guy's helmet and beat the other guy in the head with his helmet. Tell us about what's going on with that. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, you look at something, and then I'll take them one by one. Last week, when you had Myles Garrett hit Mason Rudolph in his head, with the helmet. Just that is, and I'm not condoning anything, but when you look at that, that is such a in the heat of a moment. I mean, can you imagine being in a fight and then you getting in another fight? I mean, that's basically what's happening in football. And so, here's this one guy. He's in the middle of a play. He takes the quarterback down aggressively, and it was aggressive. And then the quarterback all of a sudden wanted to rebel against it, and he's like, man, I'm tired of you doing this. And then they got into a scuffle. So it was a fight within a fight. Him hitting in his head was totally wrong, but it should have never escalated to that. So it's almost like an isolated scenario, because football players know it's an unspoken rule. Once the helmet comes off, you're in areas that, hey, we don't want to go any further. We've seen it before. We had Aqib Talib from the Denver Broncos going up with Michael Crabtree two or three seasons ago. They just, every time they met, they just got into it. Chains ripped off, helmets ripped off. And they took it too far, and they got fined, and they got suspended. But guess what? Now they've made up. Their associates down there, I think they're even working on a program together. So we know that we can get over this thing as far as athletes fight on the, here's a crazier fact. I believe if it wasn't yesterday, it was the day before yesterday, where the biggest brawl in NBA history, which I remember seeing, the Malice in the Palace against the Indiana Pacers, and the Detroit Pistons had one of the biggest fights ever. And that was the anniversary. But guess what? All of those players got over it, and we moved on. We haven't seen anything like that. The associations, they make sure they do the policing that they need to do. And unfortunately, had that fight happened today, I'm sure it would have been a bigger issue, bigger repercussions because it's so great. So what happened with last week's football game is so much social media, so many reporters, so many people want to give their takes that sometimes things just get out of bounds with the commentary where they can be policed within. Because I want you guys to think about this. So you're telling me that football players are better men today, it's like, oh my God, you know what? I want to make sure I don't want to hurt this guy than they were in the 50s and 60s when these guys had some of the worst rules. Like, no, there was worse things that probably happened back then, but it wasn't social media. And it was
and there
okay.
were no camera angles, right?
Yeah,
Michael?
And there were
that camera was everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, camera angles, takes. People want to, like you said, they want to just be the ones like, oh my God, I wonder what's going to happen after that. Back in the 60s, it was like, yeah, he cracked him aside his damn head. He needed it, and they would have moved on from it. And then the stuff that we're talking about from a standpoint of fans fighting outside, that should never happen. I mean, I know, there are many of a stadium where if you go to them, especially again, and I always have to draw that fine line between college and the pros because it's different people are attending different games, and I'm not trying to say anyone is worse than the other, but there's so much pent up anger and so much alcohol that are involved in going to a pro football game that these guys just get out of bounds. I mean, heck, they had a fight, if I'm not mistaken, with the Minnesota Vikings and the Eagles a couple years back, and they beat this guy up, and that's just going like, why? I mean, he's not a player. I mean, what are we doing here? And when the guy's just walking past you and you just give him crap, it's just taken to a whole different level of ignorance. And, and that's where the policing, again, the associations get involved to figure out how can we make and curb this. And they stop, one of the things they did is they don't sell alcohol during the fourth quarter during football games. And if I'm not mistaken, it's the same for the NBA, so they make sure that, hey, you know what, we're going to want you to kind of temper down a little bit. So by the time you leave here, you'll be somewhat a civilized man and not the drunken idiot that you could be if you just drank from quarter to quarter.
Oh, I didn't know they were doing that. That's good. Well, I didn't know that they had come to terms with it, those two players, and that they, I didn't know that. So that is so good to hear. Do you think that the penalties on the guy who did hit the other one with the helmet, do you think that was too stiff?
Well, now the fines that I'm speaking about, these were two players from 3 years ago who are cordial. I don't know if Mason Rudolph and Myles Garrett have had, but you know what? I take it back. They have had conversations. This is the new NFL. This is the new era. It's probably something that both of their teams said, hey, guys, we're not going to make a big issue out of you guys having communication. But I just have to say deep in my heart that Myles Garrett has reached out somehow to Rudolph to let him know, like, dude, my bad. But then I say that, and they said there was some racial stuff that was said, like, ugh. I don't know, that's when it gets kind of iffy. It's like, all right, if you're saying now you're putting a man's character into jeopardy, with so, as I was sitting here talking about that, they probably have not spoken because of that. And so, and on that one, it's going to be interesting. This is going to be probably better than a Jerry Springer.
Wow. Well, me personally, I would like to forgive him, and I would like to see him back. And, a lot of people said, oh, he should be out forever. I don't think so. I think the rest of the season, that is very stiff penalty right there for him to learn his lesson. And that was so out of character for him, wasn't it, you guys? Like, he was really most different than most players. That was so out of character. It's like he just snapped.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Totally out of character, especially for a guy like Myles Garrett, who's, is still a young guy in the league, but has been, up to this point, up to that incident, a model player and a guy that they consider a leader in their locker room. But, sometimes everyone has a limit, I guess, a pushing point. And when we get backed into a corner or we feel like we're in something like that, we often turn pretty vicious. So there's not one of us that has never done. I'm not saying nobody's, we've all hit someone else with a helmet, but we've all been pushed to the point where we've said, some pretty nasty things to other people or had things said to us. And it's never pretty, and we always feel bad afterwards. But it's just one of those things. They'll get past it. We'll get past it. I'm glad they eventually made up.
That's good. I was going to ask you about, I get always so afraid when these mothers and parents try to stop football altogether because of all of the concussions. It's usually parents of high school players. They want to just get football out of existence because that would be horrible. I love football so much. Do you think that's just falling on deaf ears when they are, trying to ban football altogether because of the concussion problem?
It doesn't fall completely on deaf ears, though. We just had, I think, Chris Borland a couple of years ago, a linebacker with the 49ers. He, played his rookie year and then stepped away from the game because of fear from concussions and things like that. And then of course, you do have sometimes parents in trying to do the right thing, and it comes from a place of love and wanting to protect your child and protect other people's children, but you can get a little overzealous because ultimately a lot of these parents don't want anything to happen to their child ever, and that's kind of a bummer way for a kid to go through life. Nothing happening ever. A lot of the bad stuff that happens builds character in people, and it builds who you are as a person. So, when they kind of go to that extreme of like, let's ban all physical activity whatsoever and all football and everything else, there's enough of that. There's enough of us on the other side going, we can see trying to make the game safer. We can see trying to improve the safety equipment or, some of the things that may, like the kickoff and kickoff return rules in football, things like that where it's just bodies smashing together. We can see, playing with the structure of these things to make them safer, but doing away with them completely, I think it's just, I think it's pretty foolhardy to try to think that you're going to get that done. And I think it, ultimately for kids, I mean, they're taking away so many physical options for kids now. I know when my kids were young, they tried taking PE out of school because they didn't want other kids to feel bad. But I'm like, what do you want these kids to do? Just sit at a desk for 20 hours and do nothing? I mean, to me, it's very short-sighted.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I don't want them to take away football. Well, what were the sports that you both played when you were little boys?
I played typicals. I played baseball and basketball and football. As I got older, it was right about the time that UFC and mixed martial arts was kind of coming to the forefront. I got into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, things like that, and boxing.
Wow, you're tough.
Kind of, I was a little more active and wanted to, a little. I grew up in some neighborhoods that weren't always the best place to be. So, I mean, we learned at an early age, and my brother, I have an older brother who taught me at an early age, to kind of defend myself and throw some hands and everything. But while that is more on the, I guess, the more violent side, some people would say, and it's actually good for, kids with ADHD and things like that to help focus because you're training the same things over and over and over again. to kind of get them in a perfect line and everything. So that's kind of what I gravitated to, and I'm sure Mike, his big tall ass. I'm sure you played what you were chess. You were captain of the chess team. I'm sure, Mike.
See, there you go, man. Yes, I was on the chess team, but that had nothing to do with anything else. You know, for me, it was a little different. I skied, so I did competitive skiing up until the age of about 15 years old, from like 10 to 15. Downhill slalom, enjoyed the crap out of that. Won a couple trophies, nationally. Then skateboarded professionally for 2 years. Going from skiing to skateboarding. Trying to keep it still before it was even a thing, action sports. And then my basketball coach told me that I had to make a difference. Make a choice. So I made a choice, and it was basketball. So I played that for a while, tried to play football, and unlike Jeremy, I got tractor pulled in one practice, and I got slobber knockered. And if you look that word up, it was someone getting the hell knocked out of them, and I was good. And we had a great football team, and all my boys played on the team, but that was not my sport. So played basketball out of that. That is my passionate sport. I will watch the Sisters of the Poor, and I'm talking literally, I watch nuns play basketball if they're out there playing. I love it so much. And, because it's the one thing that I've learned about sports is that it's camaraderie, it's team building. And, and I think we kind of spoke on it earlier, when you just think about from a multicultural thing, the thing that brings everybody together is sports. And if you really want to see it in full effect, you just see the effect that team members can have, because you can have a white kid from the suburbs playing with a kid straight from the hood, playing with an Asian kid whose parents don't really even want him out there, but they think this is going to look good on his resume to go to Harvard, hang out, and then they're best friends for the rest of their lives. And without that, they may not even know one another. But then when they're on the basketball court, they realize that they're one passionate, that they're competitive, and they want to win. And, man, you're a good person inside and out, man. Thanks for having my back.
Yes, and that's what I think that is so important for kids to be on a team. There's so many sports where it's just like you're the only one, like swimming and horses. But the real feeling of being on that team, and that's what I was so happy that my daughter did volleyball this year, so she could feel that camaraderie that you're talking about and build those friendships and the feeling of just your team members. You're all together on something. There's nothing like that.
That's true. I loved soccer and softball for that.
Yeah, Kelly's like me too, and I did softball too, and I just loved it. And that's the only thing I do. You know what? That's the only thing that I miss about school. Softball and, being in the band, just like Kelly.
In the band.
Yeah, I don't even miss cheerleading. You know what? I love cheerleading, except for they were so mean. That is not the same thing you're going to get from being on a team doing sports at all. Take it from me.
Oh, no, actually, Barbara, you're so wrong. You are so wrong on that. So, football players, they haze one another. Any sport, you go through your hazing period, and it's competitive. The only reason people were mad at you because, one, I'm sure you're an attractive woman, and two, you're good. And then after you just show whatever you got.
When you have the boyfriend that everybody wants, and they're like, when is it my turn? Well, you don't get
there you
turn,
go.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're not thinking about that. You guys are not thinking about that when you're playing sports. It's just different. Yeah, it's different.
Yeah.
In fact, I only did that 1 year because it was so horrible. Those cheerleaders, it was so horrible. So I did that only 1 year.
Well, I didn't join it.
All year.
I'm going to throw some parables of life at you guys. The one reason that men want to make a lot of money is to do what? Buy things. They want to buy things so they can obtain things so they can impress who?
The women.
Women. It's the same thing in sports. Guys love sports, and we play it for the reason that we want to play it. But when it comes down to it, when the chips are down, you're sitting back, like you just said, you're going to have that woman of choice because you're an athlete. So it kind of still goes hand in hand, Barbara. Yeah, we guys, you know, you probably won't see any pro athlete whose woman isn't bringing a light to his life in some way or another.
I've noticed that, and they're always standing next to them. They've got their big smile, and those women look very happy.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying they're the most, you know, the loveliest woman. I mean, but there's something special about that woman because one of some of the great. I mean, you look at Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. His ex-wife is still his business partner. You know, she still manages him to this day. Yeah, and he just got remarried about a month or so ago, but she still manages him because he understands how important. They may not be compatible as partners, you know, in love, but they are compatible as partners in business. So, and she always had his back. So, and that's what I'm saying. I call it the Barack Obama effect. You know, where Michelle always said, someone asked Michelle, she said, "Wow, Michelle, you got lucky," and you know, was having Barack Obama. What if he would have married someone who owned a restaurant? And she would have said he would have been president. Like,
She's awesome. That's a good answer. Just like standing by your man, and that is so true. That is so important to trust that person to run your career and that you can totally, totally trust. So important because there must be a lot of people that try to take advantage of these guys.
Oh yeah, professional athletes at such a high level with millions and millions of dollars. You know, I mean, if you can't be it, you want to try to take it, and it's not just the ladies because you know I don't want to give the ladies a bad name, but I mean it's lawyers, it's false financial managers, and everything else that you know when they themselves can't have millions of dollars, so they want to take from someone else that might be a little too trusting. It might be a little in the loyalty, in the buckets, a little deep in the loyalty buckets and everything. And most of these athletes, and we bring to the forefront the athletes that do wrong. But most of the athletes, professional athletes, they're just normal people. You know, they're good, hardworking people and everything, and they work hard for everything they have. And people will always try to take advantage of people like that. And I'm sure, Barbara, you've seen it, and I'm sure Kelly and Johnny have seen it too on their levels, that, you know, people will just try to take advantage of other people no matter what's at stake. They just do it.
That's why it's so important to have those good people around you. Well, I wanted to ask one last question to you guys, since we are a spiritual podcast here. What do you guys do to stay so balanced? I mean, obviously you have a fabulous life watching all your sports and then talking about your favorite subjects, but is there anything that you guys do that just gets you in the Zen mode to be able to handle whatever comes your way?
Oh, yeah, that's where alcohol comes in. That's a joke.
Do you like beer?
You know, we for us, you know, personally, we spend a lot of time watching sports and everything, but we spend good amounts of time have a good balance with our families, and you know, just the friendship that Mike and I have. We not only do these shows together, but Mike is probably the closest friend I have as an adult. You know, which, you know, making friends as an adult isn't always the easiest thing. So, but Mike he's a good guy, and it's good to have people around you that can, you know, be honest with you, and you can talk honest with them, and so, you know, it keeps you level.
Yeah, and you know, and I'll piggyback off of Jeremy. Yeah, and that's it. It's you know, because I read so many different things, and I try to put so many different things forward. You know, I go to bed and I give thanks. I wake up, I give thanks. But Lord knows I forget to do that every now and then. But in the main picture, it's just kind of just staying focused on being here. You know, you know, not try to bring the whole thing down. But I know that every day is a given, you know, is a charm. It's a blessing in itself. So I just try to make sure that I enjoy it. And it's the hard thing to do is to live in the moment, but I'm just trying to live in the moment more and more every day. And I really appreciate you guys giving us this light in order just to expand on what we're doing. And I know Jeremy and I both appreciate it. And, we just keep taking these blessings right here and keep meeting people like you. And that just lets me know we are doing the right thing.
Oh, well, those are wonderful things. Friendship, camaraderie, being able to communicate your thoughts, and also gratitude. I mean, fabulous, wonderful things right there, you guys. And thank you so much. Thank you so much. And it was so fun because I always watch sports guys talking and listening to the sports radio, and it's fun to get a little more insight into your guys' life. This has been wonderful.
Well, I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. In fact, in about 3 minutes, you can watch two handsome devils on Facebook Live with the final countdown, two guys named Jeremy Long and Michael Price, and they're going to be funny as hell.
Oh my gosh,
cool.
You know what? That's what I was going to ask you. Like, where do people find you? So you just answered my last question. Awesome, you guys. Let's do it.
That's
Okay,
it. And you know what?
Tune in.
Don't get a shout out.
Okay, well, just in time for you guys to do your show. Please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel where you can listen to this show again anytime at Life, Laughter, Happiness YouTube. Follow us there and all over the board. Life, Laughter, Happiness, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and reach out to our two great new friends, Michael and Jeremy. And tune in now 2 minutes, right, you guys, on the final countdown.
2 minutes. We're setting up. We're sitting in front of the cameras right now, getting ready to go live. Our producer's looking at us like, where the hell you been? I got stuff to do. I got a pizza on the way. Yeah, and so he just said he does. So, I know him. He does. Yeah, we know him. We know his tracks. But, again, we appreciate you guys. Make sure to follow us. It's Gorilla Cross Radio. Normal time is Thursdays, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. West Coast time. We look forward to doing some more stuff with you guys soon.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much.
All right. Okay.
Love you
Bye.
guys. Bye.
Nice, everybody. Good night, everyone. Good night, Kelly. Good night,
Good
Barbara.
night.
Good night.
Thanks, Johnny. Thanks, Kelly.
Thanks, you guys.